You're listening to Wonderful Life with Tom Rohr. From Fayetteville to Pottersville, from Rogers to Bedford Falls, we're discovering how one person's life can have such an amazing effect on so many other lives. Welcome to Wonderful Life. I'm visiting today with Tony Kaczoroski. Tony comes to us today with a compelling story about how our puppy pals oftentimes hold a far larger role in our lives beyond playing run and fetch. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Well, so our audience can get to know you a little bit. Why don't you tell us about you and your family?
Tom, well, my wife and I are relatively new to Northwest Arkansas. We come from living in Southern California for about 30 years. I was born and raised a little bit in San Diego. My wife is from Elgin, Illinois. I lived on the East Coast for about 10 years, and then we met in California. What brought us here is I was working for an organization that had a corporate office here. We made some business trips back and forth. It seemed very interesting. I was offered a chance to relocate to a corporate office. Took that opportunity. From the minute we got here, it really feels like home. Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas is a really nice place. People are nice and friendly. It's a slower pace than what we're used to in California, which is nice. The weather's amazing, and if you don't like it, it'll change in 5 minutes, so no worries about that. My wife has a long history of volunteerism, not so much for me. I was more corporate business, but she has actually clocked probably close to 4,500 hours in volunteering, mainly with an organization in Riverside, California, the Riverside County Animal Shelter. Great, phenomenal organization, and she was able to spend a lot of time there socializing dogs, helping them, the potential adoptive people to adopt either a cat or a dog, helping the vet techs in their work to place the dogs. So we relocate here. Day one, she found out about a volunteer orientation meeting at the Fayetteville Animal Shelter. Kind of another way where God's plan just put us on the right path. So she went to the orientation. They loved her. And when we finally relocated here a couple of months later, she went down there. She volunteered at the Fayetteville Animal Shelter. She's also volunteered at the Washington County Animal Shelter. For me, like I said, more corporate. I started out as a propeller head out of high school, engineering, technology, computer science, and then more computer science for businesses and then information systems, and then got into management. But I always like working with people, especially working with new employees and helping them, mentoring. My wife and I also coached fast pitch girls softball for about 6 years. We don't have any children, but it was amazing to work with the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. When they turned 13, not so much. But after they went to 14, it was okay. And but we had a great time, and the girls, working with the girls and teaching them. So I'm working. And my wife is looking for other volunteer opportunities. A gentleman by the name of Gil was volunteering at the animal shelter and said, hey, you should check out this organization. It helps pair up service dogs with veterans. And my wife said, wow, let's find out. That's Soldier On Service Dogs.
Yeah. So now you share some of the same love for dogs that your wife does?
I've always had a dog. My wife has always had a dog as a kid. In fact, our breed is Dachshunds. So they're never going to be a service dog, but they're great dogs. And then her passion for dogs, I'm the same way. I love dogs. I'm not a veteran. My wife is not a veteran, but a lot of our family members. My dad was a veteran. Her dad was a veteran. Her brother was a veteran. I have close friends that I grew up with that are veterans. A lot of uncles that are veterans, and this is a phenomenal fit because of what the mission here is at Soldier On.
Okay, so we've teased the audience a little bit here with your 501c3, and it's called Soldier On Service Dogs.
Correct.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about this 501c3?
So in April of 2014, Angie Pratt, who is the founder, she's a local businesswoman, entrepreneur. She got a call from her daughter that, and these are her words exactly, or pretty close, that her son-in-law was blown up in Afghanistan. Now, luckily he survived, but it wasn't without a lot of physical and emotional therapy. So he's going through that therapy and that counseling. Angie gets another call from her daughter that says, hey, Mom, he really could use a service dog. And Angie, again, being an entrepreneur in a business world, no problem, hung up the phone and Googled, I want a service dog. And quickly found out that it takes about 5 years, the waiting list, and about $50,000 to get a service dog for someone who has PTSD. So a little tidbit of information. Service dog is considered a medical device. So it's no different than somebody that has crutches or oxygen tank or a wheelchair, right? It's a medical device. But for a veteran, the VA does not pay 1 penny towards a service dog for PTSD. And so it's strictly up to the veteran to try to come up with the $50,000 to pay for a service dog. So Angie said, the heck with that, and not knowing anything about a service dogs, training service dogs, or running a nonprofit, she started Soldier on Service Dogs.
Wow.
And I think the following September, so 6 months later, something like that, she was able to qualify to get the 501c3 status, which is pretty amazing because it usually takes a long time for that. And she started to learn, and Angie does what she normally does. She surrounds herself with very talented people. Currently, we have Deb Locander, who is our canine program manager, and she is responsible for everything canines. She also has recently taken on other responsibilities as if she didn't have enough to do, which is managing the development team. Elise Burt, who is a vocational rehab specialist. She has a master's degree, and she works with the veterans on not necessarily counseling, but on our intake process, working with the veterans. And even before they're ever paired up with a service dog, she is working with them on things like heart mapping, biofeedback, training, breathing techniques, yoga, meditation, and various things that she can give the veteran to put in his or her tool bag to help work through the issues of PTSD and or traumatic brain injury, even before they're in the process of being paired up with a dog.
Okay. So do they have experience in working in this kind of environment, or are they learning as they go also?
Well, no. Let's see. Deb Locander has, I think, over 20 years of experience working with another larger service dog organization. She, in fact, has raised, I think, over 18 puppies that were then brought back into the organization to be tried, to be worked and hopefully become service dogs. Elise Burt was working more with the VA and the military and the veterans on other aspects. And then Angie met her one day, and there was a connection, and she said, hey, come with me and let's make some wonderful things happen for the veterans. So there's institutional knowledge here that goes before the creation of the organization and what we're doing today. And then Angie, Deb, and Elise have just worked really hard to grow the network here to bring on people that can help make things happen.
Okay. So going back to when Angie started, did she start with gathering a few dogs and training the dogs? How long does it take to get a dog ready for this kind of work?
Let me start by answering this. The process in the beginning was more, Angie has a property management company as well, so she has properties in the area. So they were just basically working out of a 2-story building that was a house. So one bedroom was this office, the kitchen was this room, and they're just trying to make the initial connections and get the groundwork rolling. The main part of that is to establish a relationship with the VA, so that the VA knows that they can refer the veterans, get the word out. And then she worked quickly, because you need a facility to do this. So she worked quickly to secure a 5-acre piece of property in Fayetteville, right off of Porter Road, that used to be an old equine veterinarian clinic and farm, not where you grow horses, but where horses are. Mm-hmm. And so she secured the property and has been then reaching out to animal shelters, rescue associations, and to breeders to try to start securing dogs. And then there isn't really a local presence of service dog trainers in this area. So it's kind of like we're working with the University of Arkansas, Arkansas State University, community college, and find and connect with people that are in annual behavior programs, veterinarian programs, and bring them in here for kennel duties, walking the dogs, feeding the dogs, watering them, bathing them, taking care of them, and kind of home-growing our own. But over the time, we have been able to secure several individuals who are very proficient at dog training and have now learned the ins and outs of service dog training, which is different. And so Angie has built this foundation, built this core that we're now hoping to expand on year after year.
Are there certain breeds of dogs that are better suited for this kind of work?
Well, because the veterans in our program have both the emotional service needs, PTSD or traumatic brain issue type service needs. Some of them also have physical needs. So our veterans in our program range from maybe the mid-20s to late 60s, late 70s. And so you can't really have a small dog be a service dog if somebody needs physical help. And society really would never accept any bully breed to be a service dog. So somebody walking into a restaurant with a Doberman Pinscher as a service dog is not going to fly, or a Rottweiler. It's not saying that that dog could not be a service dog, because they're intelligent, they're smart, they're compassionate, they show emotion for their handlers, but society just would not accept them. So we go to the kind of the mid-sized dogs. Labradors are great dogs. We've placed several Labradors. We have placed a fairly large Shepherd, and you would think that Shepherds would make great service dogs. Well, the trainers call Shepherds drama queens, and our veterans with PTSD, it's not good to have a dog that's always on point, and a Shepherd is usually always on alert. And that being on point can have a tendency to put our veterans on point, which we're trying to actually do the opposite. We've gone to trying and experimenting with golden doodles, labradoodles, poodles. One, because they're hypoallergenic, so any of our veterans who may have allergies or things like that, it's great. Two, they're very intelligent dogs, and it works great through the training program. But we're finding out as our veterans are now going out in the community with this cute golden doodle that everybody and their brother comes running up to the veteran to touch or pet the dog. Yeah. And the veteran's going, I'm trying to avoid that. So we're working through that. But now we're back looking at more Labradors. The thing we have to watch out for is the drive in the dog. It's a constant balancing act between the needs of the veteran and the instincts of the dog to make sure that there's a match. And it is a match. We do not allow our veterans to select the dog, because they may look for the dog that they like the looks of best, or makes an initial connection. But it's really up to the professional trainers to, and working with Elise on the emotional and psychological aspects of what the PTS dog is going to serve, to make sure that there's a correct blending. Mm-hmm. So you asked about the duration. It takes 2 years to fully train a PTSD service dog.
Okay. And I want to stay one last question on the dogs. Is there a large enough pool for dogs here, or are you looking for more dogs?
Yeah, we the one thing, so our organization, for what we do, we need 3 things.
Okay.
Right? We need veterans. So a couple of stats. These aren't going to be exact, but they're general stats. 75,000 veterans in Northwest Arkansas. Of that, about 14,000 have PTSD and or traumatic brain injury. Of that 14,000, about 6 to 8%, so maybe 800, 900 of them, would be eligible to be in our program.
Wow.
So no shortage of veterans for the need. Mm-hmm. Dogs. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't do this without service dogs. and they don't grow on a tree. They're not on a shelf, right? So it's trying to find the best attributes of a smaller dog that are going to present itself as a well-mannered service dog down the road. So if, let's say we had here in front of us 100 puppies. First of all, you wouldn't be listening to me because we'd be playing with the puppies, right? Of that 100 puppies, maybe 10 of them would pass the first qualification to enter into our program. The other 90 would never, ever enter into a service dog program. Of those 10, maybe 4 are going to graduate. So 96% of every dog that we encounter is never going to be a service dog. So while there are amazing and great and large number of good dogs at the animal shelters, rescue society, and breeders, again, 4% of them are going to be service dogs. And then, of course, there's the third thing. So veterans, we have no shortage of. Service dogs, we have dogs, we have a shortage of. And the next thing is we need volunteers, because without volunteers, we couldn't do what we're doing. So, and those three things together give us the opportunity to then make the magic happen with the veteran and the service dog.
Okay. And so where do you find your volunteers for a job like this?
Well, we have an easy story.
Okay.
Right? Veterans and dogs. So I think one time one person didn't like either, but we're always going to find somebody who either has a compassion for dogs, or a passion for dogs, or is a veteran, or has military personnel in their family, or knows someone and wants to make those things happen. So we do an excellent job. We have our volunteer coordinator over the years has reached out. We'll reach out to communities, to college students, high school students, to church organizations, to retirement communities, schools, every place. And we get the word out, needing volunteers. So we not only need volunteers for the process of what we call puppy raising. So for the first 12 to 14 months of a dog's life, or I should say 12 to 14 months of the dog's life in our program, because while we try to bring in puppies, we will accept dogs as old as 1.5 years, and our oldest has been 2 years old. But they still go through the same process where they spend time with our puppy raisers, which are people like you and I who have a compassion for dogs and are willing to bring that dog into our house and foster it for 12 months or 14 months. And during that time, we're not asking that person to be a dog trainer. We have dog trainers. We're asking for that person to allow the dog to grow in a safe, comfortable, loving home, and teach it maybe some basic commands like sit, stay, come, start to heel. And then maybe at the 8 to 9 month range, start to socialize it in the community, taking it to the store or to a park or to Home Depot or, to Walmart or something like that.
Now the volunteers are doing that, or at that point are the trainers?
No, right then it's just, and it's not, again, it's just, you may have encountered somebody that's got a dog at Home Depot, right? Mm-hmm. That dog may or may not be a service dog because Home Depot allows you to bring a pet-friendly place, right? So it's just like that. At that point, I'm bringing my foster pet into the store and getting it used to the noise and the hustle and bustle and interacting with people, and especially other distractions like squirrels, cats, dogs, other things, and kind of desensitizing it to the environment. Then at about 12 or 14 months, the puppy raiser turns the dog over to our organization, and that's where it enters into what we call boot camp. So now that 12-month-old or older dog that has gone through puppy raising is now going to be paired up with a professional dog trainer for about 6 months of intense training, where they're now teaching the dogs the skill sets that it's going to need to when it's paired up with a veteran. And at the same time, the professional dog trainer is also working with our veteran program to understand the needs of our veterans that are that far along in their program where they're about to be matched up with a dog. So after 6 months of that, Then there's a group pairing process where approximately 3 or 4 veterans and 3 or 4 service dogs are brought together in a classroom environment. And during the course of about a week or two, they interact with the dogs. And today, this veteran will have dog 1. Tomorrow, that veteran will have dog 2. And the professional dog trainers are evaluating the situation to see where the connection is, and knowing what the needs are of the veteran and the skill sets of the dog. And then there's an actual formal placement where the staff make the decision of which veteran gets which dogs. The veterans do not get to pick, because they're going to pick for what they like. The dog's cute, the dog's big, the dog's small, whereas the professional dog trainer and the veteran program manager are looking at what the needs are of the veteran. Now we enter into the last 6 months of this intense training, this is where we think we know this sets us apart from almost every other service dog organization. And that is, we spend 6 months educating the veteran. And we say that because these are veterans and they don't want to hear they're being trained again, because they've been trained enough, right? So we educate the veteran and we train the service dog to work together. So the service dog is now being trained to hone those specific skills that veteran is going to need. And the veteran is being educated on how to correctly issue commands, but more importantly, respond to cues. Because unlike somebody who is, let's say, visually impaired, where the dog's primary purpose is to guide the handler, with a veteran with PTSD, the PTSD service dog's responsibility is to communicate more on an emotional level with the veteran. So the process is, the veteran has to know not only how to issue commands to the service dog, but also respond to the cues that the service dog is giving them. And we do that for about 6 months. And that 6 months can start out usually 1, maybe 2 days a week with the veteran, half days. By the end of it, it could be as many as 4 or 5 days a week, a number of hours a day. So that is why we are limiting our radius of reach for our veterans to 50 miles to our facility, because during that time, that veteran has to commute. And just like you or I, right? We get in the car, we're going to head to work, and we're in a great mood, and somebody cuts us off, or there's traffic, or there's an accident, and now we're not in such a great mood. Well, for the veteran, that could be the end of the day. And so they've now driven all the way up here and wasted the little money they have on gas, and they're not going to be successful. So our Angie Pratt's vision, which she's now instilled on all of us, is that on the 5-acre property, some point soon here, we will have tiny homes. So during that 6-month process, the veteran can actually choose to live here if he or she wants to. And then if they get up and they're starting to work with the dog and they have a moment and they don't want to, they can just be steps away from being back in their home, and then later on come back and finish the rest of the day. So a lot of organizations will spend a much shorter amount of time. So they spend a lot of time training the dog, and then there's a meet and greet and a 1 or 2 week session with that handler, and then thank you, have a nice day, and that's it. So we pride ourselves on spending 6 months to make sure the veteran is prepared and ready, and the dog is prepared and ready for a successful pairing to go out into society and to go home and to work with the veteran. But then we don't even stop there. We have been told by our veterans after our first graduation class, which we actually have a full-on graduation, the dog is and the veteran are graduated together. There's not a dry eye in the house. Puppy raisers come back, because a lot of our first-time puppy raisers, before they became a puppy raiser, probably the same thing you and your listeners are thinking, I could never give up my dog. Well, first of all, it's not your dog. You go into it knowing it's a foster dog. It's not like we're going to knock on your door one day and say, I'm taking your pet. And then they're invited to graduation. And then they see the physical transformation in that veteran at that moment when he or she realizes that's my dog for the rest of my life. their confidence is increased, their ability to want to be communicating, their level of being safe is increased tremendously because they have their dog. And then the veterans graduated, and in that graduation, they're saying, now what, we don't get to come back? And we said no. And really, to be honest, the first graduation, we didn't know what to expect, right? But after hearing that, we said, yeah, come on back. And now we've seen over time that it's more of a brotherhood. And so somebody told me recently that for military personnel transitioning from the military to civilian life, it's like they're walking on a line. And on this side of the line is a life they had, they love, but they can't have anymore. Now for, I want to say a non-disabled veteran, somebody who doesn't have maybe physical disability or somebody who doesn't have PTSD or traumatic brain injury, their transition could be a lot smoother. And they get across that line and they see on the other side of the line their new life, their new world, and they become part of it. But for a veteran with PTSD, they're on that line. And they, on the one side, they see this world they love, they want to be part of, but for whatever reason, they can no longer be part of there. And then they see the world that they're in, that they're not part of. And to be honest, they don't want to be part of it because it isn't welcoming to them. It's not comforting to them. And so by having this camaraderie, it sort of augments or replaces the brotherhood they had in the military and helps them to transition to this side of the line where they're now in this world where they're going to be for the rest of their lives, and they have this brotherhood. And they come back and they come here and in fact, we're sitting in our new veteran center that is being remodeled. It was an old milk barn, and it's being remodeled so the veterans have a place where they can just come and chill. They're not going to have to talk to the veteran program manager about heart mapping or biofeedback or anything like that. They're not going to have to worry about working their dog. They can just come and chill. But knowing that 100 yards away is the resources that they might need or might want that day or tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's got to be very reassuring to see other people who are going through the same thing that they are, and have gone through the process of getting a dog.
Absolutely. In fact, I had an opportunity. I've had wow moments, a lot of them, while working here. But one opportunity, I was actually working two veterans, one veteran that's been in our program and is probably maybe 6 months or 8, maybe 9 months into the process of working with the veteran program manager on the heart map and the biofeedback and all that. Him and I were working on some projects around here, and we got to connect. And one day we were going to Home Depot because they were donating some more material for us. A new veteran that had just come into the program was actually here and offered to help. So here I am driving. I have the veteran who's in our program in the front seat and the veteran who's new to the program in the back seat. And I'm just listening to the conversation, and it's amazing how quickly it turned into, really? You do that? That's how I went through that. How did you get, or, oh, you know what? This is how I was able to, you need to talk. It's amazing how they really think it's only happening to them. And through their eyes, they look at the world as everyone else is doing okay, and I'm the only one. So it does. It gives them an opportunity to blend together and see that, no, it's not just them, and there are solutions out there and the things that can make things better.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, now you mentioned some of the things that you have as far as future plans. You talked about tiny houses. We're sitting in this veteran center here that you're working on and have plans for. What other things are you working on that'll be a future part of your operation here?
So again, as I mentioned, the facility was a horse ranch. So where our canines are, the dogs, they're actually in horse stalls that have a cement floor. But because they're large openings, about 13 by 13 square, we have 3 or 4, maybe 5 dogs housed in there during the last 6 months or 12 months where the intense training is going on. So they're in there, and all of our dogs are crate trained for a couple of reasons. One is it's a great quick way to housebreak a dog, and it's also because they're working dogs, it is the easiest way to let them know that's when they're not working. So again, PTSD service dog is working even when the veteran isn't up moving around. So it's important for the dog to have their own space to know that they're not working. So what we're initiating is some sponsorship opportunities where individuals or businesses can sponsor the conversion of a horse stall to standard canine kennels that will not only allow individual separation for 2 dogs in a kennel as opposed to 5 in their crates, but it also will give them an opportunity to have access to the outside, which does 2 things. It'll allow the dog to be able to pass in and out if that's what is appropriate, but it also allow easier maintenance and care for the dog. So a lot of time, I say we use a lot of volunteers, we have some kennel staff, but a lot of time is spent in taking those 5 dogs one by one out of their crates, outside to the outside kennels, then pulling all those crates out and hosing down the concrete, cleaning it, making sure it's sanitized and clean, and then putting everything back in there. Well, here they'd have the opportunity to open up a guillotine door. The 2 dogs would go outside, they'd shut the door. They can now clean and prep and feed, the water ready and the food ready. Open up the guillotine doors, the dogs come back in, then they move on to the next. So we're really expecting it to not only be very efficient for the kennel staff, but also to increase the health and the spirits of the dogs to help them with less training issues. We also are looking to expand our outdoor areas for exercise and for just daily activities for the dogs. Again, it's for horses, so everything is dirt, which is great when the sun is shining. It's not too great when it's raining, it's muddy, and then you got to wash the dogs and bathe and all stuff. So we want to expand the kennel facilities for the dogs. At some point, not too far down the road, we're hoping to start our own breeding program so that we can, as we work with the dogs, we'll find a bloodline that has great skill sets and temperament, and another one, and then we can breed them to, hopefully, and that's what some of the larger nationwide organizations have done. They've started their, but that requires a whole nother level of facility and care. So now we have to go to 24/7 staff, where people have to be here the whole time with the puppies and the whelping and all that stuff. When we have tiny homes here, we have to have staff here because the veterans will be here, and there's a need, a situation, emergency, or whatever. So we also have the need to add on a facility where we can have our, grant writing staff, which is a 1 person right now who's sharing a lot of duties with our accounting person, with our marketing people, and then have a facility where people can spend the night to be here for safe and security for the animals and for the veterans. And so it's just trying to expand it more for the veterans to have a sanctuary in the Veterans Center where they can come and just chill, but have the facility for the canines, and then a facility for training with the veterans with the dogs, and then the tiny homes. So there's never a shortage of need for opportunities for financial assistance, for in-kind donations, or just general help.
Yeah. I love your vision. I mean, you got the plan together, and it looks like things are happening every day here.
Yeah, and again, kudos to Angie. She is, this is her vision, and she is very passionate about this. In fact, we have there was a not a campaign, but a movement started several years ago by several combat veterans who said, it's great. We love the fact that everybody really gets behind a veteran when he or she passes away and honors and memorializes the veteran. But why isn't there something being done for military personnel when they come back from service? And so they started this campaign called Alive Day. And so Angie has taken it to the whole nother level because she actually had this vision of creating what she called an alive tree, which was a way to honor the military personnel that have come back in the community after military service and have done some amazing and fantastic things, whether it be with their families, with businesses, with the community, whatever. And so her vision was to create this alive tree. And Home Depot, again, great partner of ours, they donated rebar, construction rebar. We connected with Northwest Technical Institute, and Mark Wenzel, who's the instructor there, he got his students together and they designed and fabricated out of rebar a replica of an oak tree. We connected with a local metal artisan who created metal leaves, and another local company who is sponsoring us with engraving the leaves. And then people have sponsored the leaf to have a name of their person they know, a veteran, a military personnel who came back from service. And so on November 1st of this year, we had our unveiling of our alive tree. And on December 30th, we had Mayor Jordan out here from Fayetteville. He's another amazing supporter of our organization. And he proclaimed it Alive Day 2017 for Fayetteville. And we had the veterans and families put the leaves on the tree. So it's another way to get the community involved and to thank those people that have served our country and done some amazing things for us and come back. And Angie's passion for this is because, as I told you in the beginning, her son-in-law, well, if God had a different plan, her son-in-law may not have made it. But because he did make it and because he came back, she now has grandchildren. And she would not have had those specific grandchildren if her son-in-law did not come back. So that's what drives her passion for this. Mm-hmm. And then the vision to make it known to the rest of the community.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Tony. Well, if a listener's out there and was interested in getting involved or volunteering, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
We go to our website. So it's www.soldieronservicedogs. Click on the tab that says volunteer. You can submit an application. And the reason there's an application is because we're trying to find out what your interests are, what your availability is, what your desires are. And then volunteer coordinator will reach out to that person and then help to bring them in. If you're interested in being a puppy raiser, same place, the website. You can click on puppy raisers. There's an application for that as well. You can get more information on that. If you're a veteran and you want to find out more information about our organization, click on the tab for veterans, and we have information about veterans. If you want to find out more information about PTSD or traumatic brain injury, come to our website. And we'll be honest, we're a young nonprofit. This is our 4th year. We are very careful in where we spend our money. So our first choice is to the veteran or the canine. And then our second choice is to the veteran or the canine. And our third, so it's not till the 10th choice before we can start spending money on things like a website. So we have a phenomenal, amazing volunteer who has done our website, Amy Smith. And so we're looking to enhance that. But there's a lot of information there. We also put on 2 major events in the year. I mentioned smaller events. We had our live tree unveiling, which we'll have every year. We have our Alive Day ceremony, we'll hopefully have every year. But upcoming March 10th, we have our Hero Tail Hanger Party. And tail is T-A-L-E. You would think it would be T-A-I-L, but it's T-A-L-E because we're going to tell stories of a couple of our veterans in our program. It's a way to honor them and tell their story, or have them tell their story. And it's at the Drake Field, the Air and Military Museum. So we take over the hangars, and again, another phenomenal organization. They work with us, and we have a kind of an upscale party, not really a gala, but it's close to that. And this year, the theme is red, white, and blue jeans. So you get to dress casual, and the reason it's red, white, and blue jeans, well, obviously red, white, and blue, military veterans. The blue jeans is because Barrett Baber, if you're into country music, he's a local Fayetteville star. Came in third on The Voice, and so he is going to be performing at that event. And it's an opportunity for individuals to come, and if they want to, they can have be involved in a VIP reception and meet and greet Barrett and have some photos taken with them and things like that. But it's also an opportunity for a business to say, hey, you know what? My customers have been really good to me. I'm gonna sponsor a table, and I'm gonna invite my customers down there so that they get to enjoy the night. And then it's how we grow our network, because now we probably don't know their customers, and now we get to meet their customers. They get to meet us and have a great time. And volunteers, we need probably 20, 25 volunteers for that event.
Yeah.
And then our big event is in August, always the last Sunday in August. It's the Dixon Street Slide. So it's in Fayetteville. It's on Dixon Street. We shut down Dixon Street for more than 24 hours, and we put a 1,040-foot water slide down Dixon Street. So the top part of it is the slide, and that's for kids and young adults and whoever wants to slide. We have what we call celebrity sliders. So you, Tom, you could be a celebrity slider, and then you reach out to your fan base, and they sponsor you to slide down the slide. And so they donate $5 or whatever, and that's how you are able to contribute. So we have celebrity sliders that slide. But then down on the end of Dixon Street, where the Walton Art Center is, we actually take over the Walton Art Center parking lot, and we have what we call our community village. So it's for the last 3 years, it was a place for businesses to have booths and food vendors to be there, so that parents or grandparents dropping their kids off to go down the slide, they had a place to engage and do things, shop, or they can, have some food or whatever. But this year we're going to do something a little bit more. Well, we always have entertainers. We have a stage. Last year we had local youth entertainment groups. We had a karate group doing a demonstration. We had singing and dancing and some local artists performing. We're going to expand on it this year, and we're going to do a friendly/intense competition between military personnel, first responders, and student athletes, kind of like American Ninja Warrior trimmed down. And it's, again, the community village, right? It's the reason for it is to bring the community together.
Right.
And not only to hear about us, but we have businesses down there that the community might not be as aware of, and they get to interact with one another. We offer free booth spaces to any nonprofit in the area that wants to come there. We've had Turpentine Creek. We've had other organizations down there to be there to put on a little demonstration for their organization. And then we have businesses, small and large, that are down there trying to expand and reach out to the community. So in that event, last year I think we had 150 volunteers, and we were pushing it because some volunteers were there from 3 a.m. till 11 that night, trying to make it happen. So we really could use about 250 volunteers. We're a great organization for people that are looking to volunteer because we have so many opportunities. Mm-hmm. I think we're well over, I can't even begin to guess how many thousands of hours of volunteerism that we have within our organization. Whether it be, now you're not going to be able to volunteer and work with a service dog, right? That's not what this is about. But if you have a passion for photography or arts and craft or construction or landscaping or anything, or office work or helping us with marketing or campaigns or volunteering at events, there's no end.
There's lots of opportunities.
There's lots of opportunities.
That's great. Well, I love what you've got going on here, and it sounds like the future is really bright, and you're going to be helping a lot of soldiers.
Yes, and again, as I said, we're a new organization, mm-hmm. and if you think back, it takes 2 years to raise and train a service dog. So for our first 2 years, it's not like we go to the shelf and pull off a service dog and give it to a veteran. You can't mail order a service dog, right? So our first 2 years, we were working very hard with our veterans to give them tools to help work through the issues that they have before they get the service dog. Where we were working very hard to train and get our dogs ready. So in our year 3, which is the first year we could start placing dogs, we've placed 7 dogs with 7 veterans, and we're hopefully on track to at least meet that, if not possibly exceed that this year. And that's our goal, is to make little strides every day in a positive direction.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
Very
Tom.
exciting.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for this opportunity.
You bet. Well, now we're not quite done yet. You ready for the lightning round here? Okay. So I have a couple just random questions for you. The first one is, what are you known for?
Talking. No, not shy in talking. Yes, I love, and not just talk about anything. What if I'm passionate about something, and I'm passionate about Soldier On, and I can talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, forever. You
seem like someone who's never met a stranger, but it's well thought out. I mean, you've clearly thought about that, so it's very insightful words. All right, second question. What would we find you doing on your day off?
I'm with my wife. We don't do things separately. We do everything together. That's just the way we are. We love movies. We love driving. Again, my wife has some mobility issues. So just, some of the standard things are not as easy, but we've driven all over Northwest Arkansas and just being together. We have 3 dogs. They're dachshunds, and they go with us wherever we go. And that's what you'll find us doing.
Okay, very good. All right, last question. What is the funniest thing that's happened to you most recently?
Well, this morning, sometimes you get up in the morning and your mind's racing and your brain's not in gear. I was making my wife some hot tea and a cup with the tea in the cabinet instead of the microwave, thinking that was the microwave. And you look at that and go, it's going to be one of those days.
I love it. Well, Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed you talking about your 501c3 here, and you're doing amazing things.
Well, I really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you very much for the time.
All right. Remember, all of you can take with you only that which you give away. This is Tom Rohr, the richest man in town, signing off till next time.
You're listening to the Padua Podcasts Network, PaduaMedia.com.